Henrietta,
Yeah.
she got sick. She had cancer.
So she had cancer.
Correct. That's what she or is documented that she discovered the tumor. I believe it was cervical, and that's why she went to the doctor. So it was John Hopkins, and it's said that John Hopkins was one of the few places that would take. They said, black people, African American. They said actually, and they said or poor people. So according to their site. Yeah, they were one of the few, like I just said. So I'll go ahead and give you guys the info that I have here, and then we could talk about it. So she was the mother of 5, and she came from Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke.
There you go. Thank you for correcting that for me. And she ended up dying of cervical cancer in 1951. She was born, though, in 1920.
Oh,
So
she's a baby.
she
She's
was born
31.
she was born in Roanoke, and then they ended up moving to Baltimore, Maryland. I believe that's where the John Hopkins facility that treated her is. And she had her cell tissue removed for the research unknowingly. So that's how she ended up in the hospital. Was she was getting treated
Right.
for her cancer at John Hopkins,
Right.
and they removed her cell tissue.
Right.
She goes on to die. The doctor who discovered or still has her cell tissue, which I guess was typical at the time.
Yeah.
But usually the tissue only stays alive for a day or two.
Right.
Hers didn't die. And once he found this out, he began to alert other people in his profession. And, they wanted a sample so they could run similar tests like him to see what was going on.
What's going on?
And the cells were replicating
That's crazy.
every 24 hours or doubling every 24 hours. So, the high rate is known as the HeLa line, and it became the gold standard of cell lines. It's the first immortalized human cell line and one of the most important in medical research history. It says hormones, viruses, and the growth of cancer cell research would not be what we have today without Henrietta Lacks. Studying radiation and sequencing her genome, which they made public until, people in the family started fighting against some of these things, because I believe that she was given no credit at first.
Yeah.
The HeLa name, even when it was taught in schools, they gave it a John Doe name, like Helen Lane or something.
Right.
Even though it was really Henrietta Lacks. So Henrietta Lacks' story didn't even get told really until an author got hip to it. Her name was Rebecca Skloot. And, she found some of the family members, started getting their accounts. And the family was actually skeptical because other reporters and other medical professionals had come to the family before acting as if they were coming to help and were probably trying to, take advantage of the family or even study them. Who knows?
Right.
Because they probably figured, hey, if you're related to, what I'm saying? So they were skeptical. But she ended up, getting them to give her some confidence, and she put out their story, which Oprah did a movie about. So there is a movie about it. So it's not that obscure. Oprah's movie was The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Yeah.
So that's the book and the movie. And the Lacks family didn't profit from all this research and all the medical advancements that have come from her, that initial find. We owe a lot to Henrietta Lacks. So that's pretty much the scoop on Henrietta that I got.
That's crazy,
a
bro.
lot, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
Look, I pulled this up
crazy.
right here. It says George Otto Gay. That was the dude's name.
Who's that?
The doctor.
That figured that out, yeah.
Gey. The first researcher to study Lacks cancerous cells observed that these cells were unusual, is what you were saying, and that they reproduced at a very high rate and could be kept alive long enough to allow more in-depth examination. Until then, cells cultured for laboratory studies survived for only a few days at most, which was not long enough to perform a variety of different tests on the same sample. It's exactly what you were saying, bro.
It's how they came up with the polio vax, chemotherapy, the AIDS cocktail. Like, they literally attribute all those things to Henrietta Lacks.
Yeah.
This isn't just me, going, taking what they're already given and making my own determination, like I did earlier when I first started off with what me and my cousin were talking about with current day vaccine and current day viruses that are going on, because it still is relevant,
Right.
So, but it's interesting, like, to even consider, like, damn, they didn't even have any of this until they figured this out. And it just so happened that it was Henrietta Lacks, like you said, a black woman, and she didn't even get any credit, didn't even know about it. She died unknowingly,
Right.
But we owe a lot to that discovery. So that's interesting. And it made me think, this is what I posed to Marlon, how many more cell lines and different discoveries of said nature have they found since then that they're using to sequence and do studies on and whatnot, And then it makes you also think, so when they act so surprised when there's certain things that affect certain communities in different ways.
Yeah.
To me, this goes to show again that it's really not that surprising, because they have means to study all these different variables, That's how they're getting these type of things accomplished, is by they do the study on these type of cells, and they don't have to do human research or human studies. I'm sure they still do, but this gives them an alternative to doing human research. Who knows, bro? Me and you have talked about it. They probably grown all kind of things in laboratories that they do studies on.
For sure.
With the type of information that they learn from these cells.
Yeah. Listen, here's what you were talking about right here.
What else you
The
came
ability to rapidly reproduce HeLa cells in a laboratory setting has led to many important breakthroughs in biomedical research. For example, in 1954, Jonas Salk was using HeLa cells, and that name is Jonas Salk. So Salk, I don't know, was using HeLa cells in his research to develop the polio vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
You just brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
To test his new vaccine, the cells were mass produced in the first ever cell production factory. Wow. So in 1954, supposedly, was the first cell production factory. That's amazing. Additionally, Chester M. It looks like Southam, Southam, a leading virologist, injected HeLa cells into cancer patients, prison inmates, and healthy individuals in order to observe whether cancer could be transmitted.
Some wild shit, huh?
As well as to examine if one could become immune to cancer by developing an acquired immune response.
Kush and Chemtrails, the world's most dangerous podcast.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Emmett Flores and...
What's up, man? It's Buck Ballsy.
We're here.
Kush
We're
and
queer.
Chemtrails, y'all know.
Get used to it.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the conversation, most importantly. So continue to comment. Hit that like button, of course. Share with your peoples. Hit the bell notification, all that good stuff.
Indeed.
Appreciate y'all. Hey, Kush and Chemtrails, baby.